right, good day, everyone. I want to give a little thanks to one of my subscribers, Kara, for sending me on this journey of looking into what the Bible actually is and what it means. And it's actually leading down trails of other information, of course, as it always will when we start to look down these little roads of inquisition, pretty much. Okay, so she sent me some information about Bible and how bull in all of our different terms and words that we use actually has meaning. So we need to truly just start looking at the etymology of words and finding out what their original meanings are and where they come from. And then we'll grasp a better comprehension of our world. Now, I came across this site. She actually introduced me to a different site, or at least gave me some other information, but I came across this one when I searched for bi, B-I dash B-U-L-L, bull. And it's this site in particular is actually sending me down a very, very long rabbit trail. And I'm going to share this as quickly as I can, but it's probably going to be kind of long. So just to prepare you. All right, upon the face of the waters. And this website is from it's truthscrambler.com, and it's the Two Bulls Code. And I suspect some things that are attached to this as to why it's always two bulls. And I'll go over that in a moment. But the Two Bulls Code is a language of spells and the sun moon, which is the Bible. This was published on September 21st, 2018 by Upon the Face of the Waters. How did they know about the pineal gland in the brain? How could it know that the speed of light is 186,400 miles per second? The Bible was written by a divine intelligence, by a UFO, an unidentified floating object, by Bill Donahue. That was just a quote that he made. This post will bring in some new information from this YouTube video series by Trutheracy, and tries to synthesize it with the astrotheological groundwork laid by my study of Santos Bonacci. See, here we go with Mr. Astrotheology. Santos Bonacci is a wonderful channel if you want to learn some things about our world, and there's a lot of hidden information, but it's in the truth foundation of everything. The Bible is the Bible. Here's the code to unlocking a bunch of truth. Are you ready? Bull equals Taurus, Baal, or El, the ancient sun god of the Phoenician Canaanites. But bull equals Taurus also denotes the horns of the crescent moon. Therefore, the bull is both the sun and the moon, and is thus a powerful mind-expanding symbol, an aspect of astrotheology and language itself. This is the Two Bulls Code. So when we're talking about the sun and the moon, we're talking about part of the seven spheres of influence, or the seven rings of power. There are seven rings in our existence, and one is the sun and one is the moon. Those are part of the reincarnation cycle as I comprehend it. And it goes up different channels to the stars. Basically, our bodies are just a physical embodiment of the light that comes from the stars. And this can be found in astrology as well as astrotheology. From Wikipedia, El is called again and again Toru El, Bull El, or the bull god. He is Batnu Binwati, creator of creatures, Abu Bani Ilil, father of the gods, and Abu Adami, father of man, like the Adam, the Adamu. He is Ganiyunu Olam, creator eternal. The epithet Olam, appearing in Hebrew form in the Hebrew name of God, El Olam, God eternal, in Genesis 21:33. He is Hatikuka, your patriarch. El is the gray-bearded ancient one, full of wisdom, Malku, or king. Hence, if he is the gray-bearded one, he is also Chronos, Saturn, old man time. And you know this to be true by comparing the symbol of Saturn with the Hebrew letter Lamed, which makes the L sound. And this is Lamed, and this is the symbol for Saturn. Very similar in their design. Old Father Time This is the gray-bearded man, because we become old and gray as time passes. This is part of Saturn's influence on us. Notice the hourglasses. They are shaped like the center of the torus field, or hyperboloid. Here's bull again. The bull. If you haven't seen my earlier post on this topic, it's no mistake that the word Taurus sounds like Taurus. You can see the horned animal head in the torus field if you look hard enough. So they're talking about, this is the bull. It can be a bullhead here, and also the field that goes this way has horns, or a shape that is similar to horns. Santos Bonacci talks about how the torus field creates electricity, the only true force or energy in this universe. So your elite are worshiping Satan, who is really Saturn, El, the old man Kronos, who is also Baal, or El, whose symbol is the bull. He is the reason they ring the Liberty Bell. The bell is also shaped like a Taurus. You know, you have this upside down shape here. It's shaped like a bell. What does it mean? It means that this is a scalar wave shape. Once again, these scalar waves carry power, and they harness energy, the frequency of our world. These are some other images of the toroid. This can be deemed as horns, this shape right here. And this is a conical shape which harnesses energy, free electricity. This is what the pyramids are. They are also scalar wave shapes. This toroid field of energy allows the energy to flow in a direction. It's like an apple, shaped like an apple, and this is a funnel. The energy goes in and out and around. We have toroid fields in our own bodies created by our heart. The two bulls are the red and the blue. One is good and one is evil. Keep this in mind. I want to talk about this. This image here of the blue bull and the red bull is what sent me off on another path of a rabbit hole that just keeps going. But here we have the bi-bull, which is the two bulls, two pillars. This is the opposition. We have forces in opposition, the good and the evil. You know, that's what all the stories are about, good and evil. The Red Bull energy drink, that's what the symbols of the bulls are from, the bi-bull symbolism. Then we have the bull, which is the same. It's bi-bull, two bulls, two syllables. Now, what I have to say about that is that I do have this image here, and that all of this idea and concept of two bulls not only represents the toroid field or Taurus field of energy, it is also here in Taurus. Taurus is part of the golden age, or the gold spring. And in this age, when it comes around every 26,000 years in its cycle, give or take a few hundred years, there is a division that happens. This circle right here, a circle represents unity, balance, harmony. All of these things is completion. It's a unified field. But in this symbol, and this is my own interpretation, please, I could be completely wrong, but this is what I get a sense of, is that there is a division that happens every time you get into this realm. During this age of Taurus, this division happens in the consciousness, in the world. The good and bad begin to split, because there's always good and bad in everyone. We live in a dualistic system. That's what this yin and yang is about. If you study the I Ching and the yin yang and all of this stuff, you will begin to learn that everything in your life is duality, and it's based in duality. And to be able to create the order out of chaos is what this entire world is about. That's why they use this term. Those who have been in principalities of power over us have always used the slogan, Ordo ab chao, which is order out of chaos. And here you see the red and the blue, once again, red shift, blue shift. This is also found in sine waves and different frequency waves where you have red shift, blue shift. You have the forward wave in the red shift field, and then behind the wave, behind a sine wave, is the blue shift. So it's all about energies and frequencies, but it's also a duality. And here is when the consciousness splits. Right here during this gold spring, which is the golden age, you begin to have one principle of thought that is on the side of they want to achieve more. They want more power, more control, more knowledge, more of everything. They become greedy tyrants in their thoughts. Instead of being wise and loving and caring, they move to a principality of darkness and control. And they want to then create this discord and disharmonic world. And this is where it all begins, because during the age of Gemini, everything is in balance here. Everything is harmonic, and people are living their most beautiful lives. There is no poverty. There is no pain, suffering, all of these things. Everyone is taken care of because they learn to take care of each other. But at that height, because we're in a spiritual realm, and this is a system that comes about and it never really changes, because the astrotheology is an absolute science. And you can go and watch Mr. Astrotheology, Santos Bonacci, and find out this truth. We divide during this age of Taurus, and then the division grows even more here. This symbol of the ram, and this is my interpretation. I have not gone completely through everyone else's interpretations. This is just me with my artistic brain and the knowledge of different symbols that I've found. This, to me, in my interpretation, symbolizes a fountain, not just a ram's head, but a fountain of knowledge that gets divided and it splits into two. And this is the dark faction and the light faction, what you get as black magic and white magic. One is the higher road, one is the darker road, and they want more control, more money, wealth, power, whatever it is. They actually supposedly didn't use money during the age of Gemini, but as we know, all things change because it's a dualistic society, a dualistic world. You will never have light without dark. It's just the way this construct is. And once we comprehend this, we can move about our lives knowing this truth, knowing and seeing it everywhere around us. We will never have one without the other because this is just the way this world was made. And this world is an illusion that has given us the opportunity to grow from this experience that we have during each incarnation. And I know that some people don't believe in reincarnation, but there is evidence in this world, according to even science and scientists who have gone and observed children, thousands and thousands of children who have reincarnation experiences to share. And when those experiences are actually investigated to the point where they go to where these children have claimed that there have been events and that the person died and that they then became this other child, that there is truth there. There's a lot of information on that, so I don't have to prove that in this video, but I just wanted to share this little bit of where a lot of this comes from. So remember this age of Taurus, the symbol that is here, and this division. This is where the division begins between the light and the dark. And that's what we have here, red shift and blue shift. The two bulls are represented by the two pillars, that is Joachim and Boaz. And again, I might be pronouncing things, incorrectly, but please forgive me. I'm just going to keep moving. The red and the blue, the male and the female, you can see the two triangles. One is upside down and they come together to form the Star of David in sexual union. Now, it's not just about sex. This is also, when you have the Star of David, it represents all of the elements. It represents the air, fire, water, earth. And that is something that needs to be discovered and rectified, because a lot of people think that this is just a religious symbol, and it is not. It represents a star tetrahedron of the tetragrammaton of our world, and most people will not grasp that concept. But if you go and you research the alchemical elements of air, fire, water, earth, and then you look at the tetragrammaton, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I do have that in some of my other videos, where I talk about the star tetrahedron and how the tetragrammaton is just a multitude of interconnected star tetrahedrons that react with our consciousness and our thoughts, because our thoughts are scalar waves which look like these tetrahedrons. Okay, there's going to be a lot of sexual symbolism throughout this thread, because that is the union of the divine masculine and feminine, which is also found in the yin and yang symbol, because it's everywhere. It's a dualistic world. And when we comprehend this, we come into our wisdom of knowing what the world truly embraces and what it entails. So this one is water, because it's like a vessel, and it holds the water, but this is the symbol for water. This is the symbol for fire. Fire rises and water holds in a vessel. But this is the union of the two. And as this creates a line across the top, this is the symbol for air. If you have this upright triangle with a line through the top, it symbolizes air. And then this downward facing triangle with the line at the bottom symbolizes earth. And here we have the bull, 9/11. We saw the two bulls worship on 9/11. The two bulls, two Tauruses, the twin towers that were destroyed on 9/11, or L, which is L, on 9/11, which is evil. 10 years later, they announced that Osama bin Laden was dead on May 1st, 2011, a black moon day, where the moon is dark and no portion is illuminated. We're going to see how the moon ties into the bull code. In response from 9/11 was to go to war by sending out soldiers, or sun deers. Soldiers are nothing but pawns to be sacrificed to the sun god, and in actually abomination to the sun god, because the sun gives life. The sun represents light, which is life. There's a reason why they sound the same, the two terms light and life. So they want to oppose the sun. When you oppose the sun, you worship the moon, which is death. It's a symbol for death or septic energy. And the moon is the portal of death that we go through in order to go up back into the stars and then be recycled back down through the sun. So the sun deers, who ritualistically die for the sun god Baal, that's what they do. That is why they have to be adorned with these symbols. They get different symbols, but on their uniforms, these patches are different sigils. Okay, you have to comprehend this, all you soldiers and veterans out there. The symbols that you wore on your clothes were actually sigils. And if you were to die during battle or during wars, during Mars, the god of war, you would then be sacrificed to a particular god that was made through the symbols. The symbols represent a particular god. Now notice how they start wars in springtime. Aries, which is the birth of the sun in the zodiac. See, again, Aries is the crown chakra, but these moon cults, or death cults, as you would call them, are actually part of this whole process of the antithesis of life. They destroy while the other half of the world creates. So this is the birth of the sun in the zodiac, at the time that the ancient cultures would make blood sacrifices to the earth to appease the fertility gods for a good harvest year. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's always blood sacrifice. Blood sacrifice is a ritual, but when you kill something like this is actually an abomination to the sun who creates life. And the fertility gods don't need death sacrifices. Usually what they would do is offer fruits to them because fertility is in the fruit, which is what reseeds the life. So it's not just about blood sacrifices. Blood sacrifices, again, you're killing something. That makes you part of a death cult. Often a bull or goat was sacrificed. Trutheresy frequently points out that the Phoenician alphabet is an ancestor of almost all modern alphabets. That's why you find the bull in buy and sell, L, at the US Capitol, which is in the shape of an owl or owl. L. Owls are always connected with clocks because they represent Saturn, Old Man Time, and the Grim Reaper. This is Saturn's gate. And I'll have to go and find that for you so that you can comprehend what I'm talking about. And it's from the Phoenicians that we get the legends of the evil god Moloch or Moloch and the word molest. Now, owls or Els or Elohim are always worshipped in Temp El, like the temple of Sol, O, Mon, the sun and the moon. Sol is the sun, O is and then Mon, moon, which is Mon day. The ancient Hebrews prayed to Yahweh. Yah is Egyptian for moon. And when the Babylonians built the Tower of Babel, it was a sin in which was another name for the moon god. I'm going to go look for the information that I need to give you on the spheres so that we can get caught up. Okay, here's what we have in Plato's model of our world. And you can find this in Plato, Pythagoras, and Dante. They all have a very similar cosmology. And it begins with us in the center. This is the non-physical incarnate into a physical. From the external, we come down through the channels of heaven, what you would call heaven. We are born of the stars. We have the 7 rays of light within our form, and we come down into what they would call the earth plane to have an experience and to live out this slow, dense reality, to be able to take all of the knowledge that we gain from this experience back up to the one mind, which is what they would call heaven. Now, in order to have this experience, there is a channel of energy that we move through as light beings through the firmament. The firmament is where the stars are. This is why your birth chart will know absolutely everything about you. As these celestial alignments of stars, what we call constellations, are over our head during the time of our incarnation into a physical body, it allows for a particular energy to come through from the heavenly shapes that they create. The stars are energy. They are light energy. They create sound waves that we cannot hear. But as they create their frequencies of color and sound, they create us, our spirit, into a physical through the womb of a womb man, which is a star gate. The star gate allows for the human to come in with the stars in their bodies. Connected to the stars, we will then return back up to the stars when we die, what they call death. But we have to pass through all of these gates right here. These are the 7 rings of power. This is what they're calling the rings of power in the new Lord of the Rings series that is on Amazon Prime. Saturn is the Lord of the Rings because Saturn encompasses all of the others. Saturn, or Kronos, ate his children because they are within his body, right here. Each of these spheres of influence has an influence in your birth chart. When you go and you find out your zodiac chart or birth chart, you will then know more about yourself and your life and why you came here. This is another way to discover more about the inner workings of your own mind and your world and your personality and the challenges that you face as a light being incarnated into a physical form. So as we come down, we go up and we exit through Saturn's gate, which is also the realm of dreams. This is why he's also known as the Sandman. When you can gain conscious awareness in the realm of dreams through astral projection and lucid dreaming, you become more powerful in your consciousness and your mind. Just like little birds who grow from the nest and fly, when you gain all of this awareness, you can then fly throughout the cosmos of our existence and go and see amazing things like time traveling, like looking at absolutely everything in an instant. That means going to any place in the world in an instant through your thoughts. Your thoughts are all you truly are. Your consciousness is all you truly are, but we are all connected in consciousness to this outer world, the world we would consider the dream world. And these are all the truths, the hidden truths that the controllers of the world did not want us to find, because the truth is inside you. And it's why they put the power outside of you through the Bible system. Remember, it's all just an experience to learn from, but we have to comprehend what it all means. So Saturn is the gate of death once you leave this plane. The moon is like a mother, and she is the darker side of the yin and yang, and she pulls you up into her as you exit, and you go through all of the rings again, out of the gate of Saturn, back into this realm of the stars. Now, the sun is known as our Father, and he impregnates the earth with his light so that we can then come through the gates and into the world. The sun and the moon are one, basically. One is the reverse side of the other, and one gives life while one takes life, and that gets channeled through back up to the stars. This is why NASA, everything about NASA is a lie and needs to be squelched and remedied. We need to see the truth for what it is. And there is a divine aspect of ourselves that most people have not discovered because of the construct of the ego and the foundations that happened during the age of Taurus, with the splitting of humanity into two factions of the good and evil that we consider in the world. And we need to get back to basics on who we truly are and what we can actually do, because once we find ourselves again, we can then find out what our innate abilities are and what the purpose is for us being here. Instead of being a slave to their trap of materialism, we can actually become more spiritually grounded in the foundations of reality and begin working with the higher factions of ourself to create heaven on earth, which is where we are going now throughout all the different ages of time. Around the great wheel of time is where we're going. So, and these are just some of the Plato's symbols. And as you can see, these are sine waves, these are sound waves. And if you look at cymatics, you will find these things. Dodecahedron, universe. This is the cube of Saturn. And then you have all of the other aspects. So, all of these things are actually part of us. And when we discover this, we can begin working with the elements around us and developing our innate abilities through our mind, our consciousness, and our will. And that's why magic is coming back to the world. It was never magic and it never will be. It is us and our innate abilities that were hidden from us. And it's why people have different abilities that are outwardly shown early in life, like telekinesis or telepathy or clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. All these things are special innate abilities based in our sun sign. When you get this, you're going to start discovering aspects of yourself that are connected to one of the four elements more than the other three. So look into your birth chart, find out what your base element is. You have power. They did not want you to know how powerful you truly are. And so we keep going with this story because there's a lot of information here. Again, the elements are right here. We enter a singularity in the age of Aries, but there's all these different sound frequencies of light and sound that we go through as we traverse through all of these different ages. And it's very important for you to know yourself fully so that you can now begin your path. You know, we're leaving the path of Pisces, the 2 feet and foundations of our adventure, back up to the crown chakra. And that's where we're going with all of this. And if you can get a jump on it now, when you reincarnate again and again, you're going to bring this knowledge back with you, because the spirit never dies. And all it's going to do is grow. You either grow through the upward path of awareness, or you go down to the lower path of, you know, unconsciousness. And you just keep reincarnating until you finally grasp something about this world and you move upwards. All right, back to the story. Now we went over the temple, and what they say is the Babylonians built the Tower of Babel. It was a sin, which is another name for the moon god. Sin is the moon, okay? We've got to grasp this. It does not mean that you've done something evil. Now, how can someone who was born in the world, who is innocent of any crimes against humanity, be born in sin? It's such a lie. What it is you're born, and you go up and through the moon. You know, that it's like portals of energy that we go through, these different energy fields. And I could have it a little bit backwards, but the sun, you're born with the sun sign in your chart as the most powerful element. So why is the sun so important in your chart when you're born? I feel like it's because of the rays of the sun and the moon, because you can't have one without the other, really. But you're born here with a particular energy during these constellation cycles, and then find out what yours is through astrology. Now, the obelisk, L again, is phallic, but it's not a human phallus. It's shaped like a bull penis, because the elites are worshiping Baal or El or Saturn. El, the Phoenician Canaanite bull god. Remember the golden calf too. So you had the golden calf. Gold represents the sun, which is good. But then you have the Baal, which is the bull god that they created to sacrifice humans in order to gain power. This is what they do. They began first with like animals and animal sacrifice, and burning barbecue to Baal, the bull. The smoke wafts up and is an honor to Bull, the Baal. Yeah, so there's a lot to know about that. That's the darker aspect of consciousness. It is the underworld that they are worshiping. This, of course, is where we get the exoteric myth of Satan. Satan has horns, as we know. This is the bull, designed to scare the sheep El, and why he always depicted with horns of a bull or ram. It's usually like this with the bull horns. But see, this wouldn't be bull because of the concentric rings. That's more like the goats. But that combines with the ram, Aries and Taurus are there together. So they're trying to mix the two. So the obelisk is the bull penis in the center of the bull's eye of the Vatican courtyard. It's in the mid-L, or vagina, scoring, getting laid. Now, the O with the dot in the center is a symbol of sex. It could be that, but also it was always considered the sun. It's a symbol alchemically of the sun, a circle with a dot in the middle, which I guess would be life and rebirth, which would have to be sex. Okay, sex magic, top, bottom, male, female, male and female, in and out. Taurus, the toroid field. Vatican and the uterus. Vatican is also shaped like a female uterus or torus. It is also a stargate, what we would consider a stargate. Breaking down the word obelisk, we get O, woman, bel, man, isk, pertaining to male and female, to sex. Is a sex magic ritual. It's a sex magic ritual the occultists are playing out. Yes, it is. It involves the moon. From the moon, we get the words monarch, moon arch, and which, the arch of the moon as well, and monotheism, and monopoly, and moni. All those nasty tricks that the worshippers of El are playing on us. all being used for mind control. Mind is min or moon. When a cup L wants to have sex, they get horny, like horns of the bull god Taurus. They might get randy, like a goat. Sex is sometimes considered a sin because the word sin comes from the moon, and the moon is synced up with the female ovulation cycle. The moon is intricately connected to fertility. And now you know why it's called clitoris. Taurus. Europa is a Phoenician princess. Bull, Zeus, Phoenician purple, red. Okay. In Greek, the myth Europa went riding the white bull, which turned out to be Zeus in disguise, who stole her away, in other words, raping her. What we know about purple is it's red and blue combined. They combine to make this purple, but it's also the symbol for royalty. It means that you've ascended in your consciousness. This is why it's used in the kingship, in the kingdom. Kingdom. Get it? Dome. It's a dome. So the leaders and rulers who raise their awareness to the level of blending both factions, making order out of chaos, creating a perfected soul or mind. That is polishing the philosopher's stone. That is creating gold out of lead. That is what this entire world is about. It's about your consciousness ascending into the higher realms, ascending to greater awareness of self and the existence that we're in. That's what all of it is about. It's what we're looking for ultimately. Okay, the words circle and middle. Circle, also Circe, Mother Circe. Circle and middle contain the bull god El. It's the bull's eye shape, the target logo, and also Saturn because of how the globalists and NASA insist on depicting it with a ring. That goes back to what I was telling you about Lord of the Rings and this idea that Saturn is Lord of the Rings. So Saturn is the master of this realm, and it controls everything. And just outside of Saturn's gate is where our spirit lies, and it's still connected to those outermost regions. Even when you're incarnated in a physical form, you're connected to this other worldly energy we call spirit. Through that thin light that's connected to your body, when you astral project, you're connected through the cord of light that's connected to all things. And that's why you can return your earthly body. That's why they say it's the ring, it's Lord of the Rings. This actual center part would represent the sphere of Earth where we are, and Saturn would actually be the outer ring that controls it all. Saturn and the moon are deeply connected in this fertility rite because when you get married, you put the wedding ring of Saturn on. This is why you wear earrings to worship Saturn. Any kind of ring represents Saturn, even bracelets and toe rings and other rings. Now sex is no longer a sin, which is the moon, but the church is what created the contracts that we sign in order to be together with people, which is all a lie. They wanted to profit off of it, and they did very well. Truthersy says that's why the Illuminati wants you to drink the bull's blood, which comes from the Canaanite can of fertility. Drinking the red blood from the bull or the biblios, the two bulls, red bull, drink the bull's blood. It's all symbolic. The sacrifice of the golden sun in the bull god Jesus and drinking his blood, sex magic of 101, basically. IOI. So there's two columns in the middle. Yeah. This is what it's going down here. Red Bull 101 or IOI. In Jewish gematria, Red Bull energy drink equals 1011. 101 ties into the eclipse crucifixion code from Gematrinator. Jesus' crucifixion was an eclipse sacrifice. Jesus 11, which is LL, Jesus Christ, is 101, reverse single reduction. Jesus crucifixion equals 101, eclipse sacrifice 101. The Las Vegas Mandalay Bay sacrifice ritual happened on October the 1st of 10-1. Language spells from the Saturn moon Tauruses. Look at the word circ L, which has a middle or L. The middle is also the center or moon Taurus, where sin, S-I-N, remember the sound holds the value, not the spelling. The spelling is casting spells to your vision to create chaos in your mind, when you need to just get back to the basics of the sound frequency. Sound frequency holds the value. Sin or moon and tear or Taurus donut shape, which is where we get the words like sin, tar. Sin, again, moon, tar, Taurus, and min, tar. Min is moon, O is the center, and tar, which are part human, part beast. Again, a reference to creating the spirit god or spirit is what we're trying to do from a beastly mind construct. We are beasts in our actions, in our minds. We are like beasts, merely having sex and surviving. But when you leave that construct of the 3D physical world and you become more spirit-like by questioning everything, looking for more knowledge, seeking more truth, more wisdom, this is the foundations of your awakening to then rise to the top, finding out more. What can you do? How do we escape the recycled construct? You have to escape it through your mind, control of your thoughts. This is the meaning of all of this world. This is the purpose of all of this world, to play the divine comedy of Dante, to comprehend what it means to have an experience, but then to rise upwards, to become more like your spirit, to become lighter. See how this works? Everything is calling us in different directions. And the chaos in the world is what we have to quell. The chaos of the mind, the monkey mind, the mind chatter. Where is your mind going throughout your day? Your thoughts, where do they go to? Do you do introspection? Do you question? Do you think about higher things? What is this world? When you lose the desire for all things 3D and desire more things tied to spirit, that is when your journey truly begins. And then you start to find what it means to be a spirit. And you grasp onto it and you begin pulling yourself upwards in more knowledge. It's what we're trying to do here. This is all the game, and it's all a divine comedy, just like Dante said. These are all moon Tauruses. Why is the root of this in so many words? Well, in astrology, the moon exalts in Taurus, and Venus is the ruler. Venus is the heart. Venus is love. It is the foundations of our toroid field. Get this? Venus, the heart, love, Lucifer. Lucifer is not the devil and never will be. Lucifer is Venus. Venus is the star of the morning star. Notice both planetary bodies are feminine, but Baal or El, the bull god, is definitely male. So you can see the sharp duality here, the two bulls contrasted on a knife's edge of red and blue, male and female, sun and moon, good and bad. When the moon is in its arch or crescent, it's shaped like two curved horns of a bull. Apis, the Egyptian bull god, is always depicted like this. See, this symbol, this round circle, can be the sun or the moon. Just depends on how you look at it. It's always based on perspectives. The bull is Taurus, symbolizing the horny fertility of the moon, and the solar disk above his head is the sun. So together, Apis represents sun and moon. Sol, O, moon. Know your words, know your etymology, and you will de-occult the el-eat, because the words don't lie. You can't debunk it if it's built into our very language. Santos Bonacci calls it atomology. All is atum, as the Egyptians used to say, because all is atom. or light. The atom actually is made of particles of light, and this is what all of this is tied into. We are light beings having an earthly experience. According to true theosy, in the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Akkadian cultures, the cow sky god was An or Anu, where we get the words like Anu, Na, Ki. Ki was earth, Na is of, An is this bull god, apparently. An, Nu, Na, Ki. So Ki is earth, people. This is also, if you go back into Sumerian text, you'll find that Ki was earth, and that we are being basically misled by a lot of the propaganda out there. The propaganda machine is real, and it keeps perpetuating circles and circles and circles for people to try to be trapped in. Know the truth, and you'll know yourself, and the way out of the recycle trap that we have to experience while we're here incarnated on earth. Okay, Anu, Sumerian, Assyrian, Babylonian celestial sky goddess in the form of a cow. So this was a goddess right here, goddess, not bull, male, not Taurus, the male, but this is Anu. So this meant probably life and rebirth. So An must be the same as the Egyptian goddess Hathor. Combining an An and El, we get angel or angel. Get this now. This is something that Jordan Maxwell said. He said the angles are the angels of heaven. That means that the stars over our heads are the angles of heaven, or angels of heaven, because in their frequency is a divine matrix of energy that we can use. And if we only knew the celestial alignments and the different powers they represent, you can go and harness these powers for good. This is what farmers still do to this day. They plant by the sun, the moon, and all these other cycles that they know about. So they've held that knowledge sacred. The planting harvest cycle, you plant in the spring and you plant during a certain moon cycle and celestial heaven cycle, and then you harvest during a cycle as well. It's getting back to the constructs of our world and using this energy as a positive means as opposed to the negative, harmful path, which is what we've been doing because we're devoid of this wisdom and knowledge of our construct of the world. It's a lot of information to take in, but we've got to start learning this so that we can then get our lives back on track with everything, even nature. We have to come back into our awareness of nature and how important it is for us to actually be able to have this physical experience. So we've combined on an L to get angel or angle. In each house or 30-degree angle in the zodiac wheel is an ang of L, a ray of God. See this? Exactly what I'm talking about. So the rays of God come through. They come through the firmament, and they are the light. And if you are a light being, you cast no shadow, because light cannot cast a shadow. So if you were to light a match or light a lighter and then shine a light at it or hold it in the sunlight, it will not cast a shadow, because light cannot cast a shadow. Very important information. From Ong, we get the word Angus beef. And in The Last Airbender, the TV franchise, the main hero's name is Ong, he who can bend all four elements. He is the air bender. I'm an air sign. I would love to know this information. I know that there was, when I saw this series, even the movie that came out, I knew that there was more to this movie, and it's all about the truth. But we have to find that truth within inside each of us, and we're on this great expedition to find the truth and bring it back into one melting pot of knowledge so that we can then drink the soup of knowledge. Notice how the archangels have L in their name: Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, Raphael. These are the etymological keys to unlocking the wisdom of the occult, all the customs and traditions that have been seeped in mystery all this time. This knowledge is what the elites are guarding from us to give them a preferential advantage over the sheep. This is exactly what they've been using. All of this magic, what they call magic, they made everyone else fear through their indoctrination of the Bible and all of the other realms of religion. They religioned the minds of the masses and cast a black spell of magic on their minds to entrap them and enslave them for their purpose. This is exactly what happened during the age of Taurus when they wanted more power and more control over the weaker people that had no knowledge, and they destroyed our world by battling forces against the light workers, the ones who were of the light and of wisdom and true love and knowledge. They fought against them because they were summoning the principalities of darkness. They were using the powers of the underworld to then go against the rest of us. And they've done a lot of damage to the people's minds and their willpower through all these dark practices. This is what we have to recognize as dark magic. When you use this knowledge, divine knowledge of our world against others, it is black magic. So when you're ever doing harm against someone else with intent or otherwise, you are performing dark magic practice. Absolutely, this is what our world is about. This knowledge is what they've been hiding. They get to be the ram and us, the sheep, because they have the playbook, the ancient knowledge that was perfected in Egypt. This is why Egypt is the key. Egypt is very important for us to open up the wisdom there, to unleash all of the knowledge that was held sacred underneath the Vatican and to re-release it to the world. And that's what's happening right now. They're starting to spill this back out because they are no more. Notes from Genesis, in the book of Genesis, or Genesis of Isis, it is the female Eve that is tempted by the snake, and thus the first one who sins. Now get this, what they've done is they basically suppress the divine feminine, because when you go back into the astrotheology chart, you see that the white represents the male principle or male energy, and the black represents the female. This is the yin and yang, or duality of our world. We have male and female in animals. We have dualistic everywhere. We have hot, dry, cold, wet, and all of these things based on the four elements. And they're inside you and they're everywhere outside of you. And they affect us on a daily basis. So once we learn more about the yin yang, you can put these principles into your own life and balance your life through the principles of the yin yang. But the yang energy, or male energy, has been dominant through the age of Gemini, Taurus, and Aries. And now that it is now waning or starting to fade, we're coming back into the divine feminine element, bringing more feminine energy back into the world. And the women are the principality that will heal the world and bring the nature back up to speed. But we have to cross over this experience that we're having between the Pisces age and the Aquarian age. And this is all part of the construct of our world. When you comprehend this, you will actually begin to comprehend that everything has its purpose and meaning, and that none of this stuff is by chance. So what's happening right now is that there's a faction of light and a faction of dark that are now fighting for power over us, the minds of the sheeple. But you have to elevate your mind. Elevate. Get it? Elevate. You're going up in consciousness. Well, if you're watching this video and watching other videos on other people's channels to elevate your consciousness, then you're starting to awaken to your true nature and your divine senses. And notice how the women are starting to merge together to form alliances and to bring back the energy that's much needed for us to get out of this dark winter right here, symbolized in this inner ring of winter. The women are going to be pulling us out with their energy, healing the world, bringing back things. The men also have a role to play, but we have to bring ourselves back out of the winter of our consciousness, because that's what this really truly is tied to, is consciousness. It's tied to body parts, but we have to pull ourselves up first and out of the winter, which is the darkness where we've been in our states of consciousness, with the unawareness based on the principalities that split the world during the separation of Atlantis and Lemuria. Okay. The Eve was tempted by the snake, and thus the one who sins because she is evil. So sin is actually the moon, and sin is feminine. But the moon is a feminine energy because she also represents this portion over here, the darkness. She is the more calm energy. Okay. She represents the moon, 2 or even numbers. Adam is 1, the sun, odd numbers. All are good or lucky numbers. This is going to tie in the numerology elements. So this is good to come across this and learn the foundations of what numerology means and what it's actually saying when you combine these numbers together. It's going to be important. The even numbers are evil. 6 is a hex and 4 is unlucky in some Asian cultures. 2 is duality, which is naturally where good and evil are born. And Taurus symbolizes this because it is the second house of the zodiac wheel. The 2 bulls also represent the Old and New Testaments, the Bibles and the New Testament. Jesus Christ always spoke in parables, parable. It's a pair of bulls. You have the red and the blue. You have the good and the bad, or the, good and bad, blood, crypts. This is where I said, this red shift, blue shift thing. We get into what the history is, bloods and crypts. Now, crypts, and I'm going to segue off of this because I feel like it's part of recognizing these things out in the world. Blood equals life. This is what I've learned in the occult realm. Blood equals life. And this crypts is actually from the word crypts or crypt, an underground vault or chamber, especially one beneath the church, that is used as a burial place. So it means death. What they're telling us in this is that it's life, which is the sun, which is the life blood, and then crypts is the moon. That's why it's blue. That's why it's death. Very, very important to know these things. And then you get into, I also pulled up this because the different foundations of color sent me on another trail looking into some other things. It sent me into the 2 parties. Why do we have the blue and red division? Again, we're getting into that whole construct of red shift, blue shift, and light and dark, and the duality of our world. Remember, elephants. What is a male elephant? A bull. It is a bull. But this is supposed to be blood. But remember this. And I was like, why did they change the colors? They switched the colors. So watch this. I grew up in an era where I remember the elephant being blue. It was a blue elephant and a red donkey. Why did they change? These are old representations of the Republican Party, was depicted by a blue elephant. Now, okay, so now we have the Democrats versus the Republicans. When did they decide that this was going to change? When did they decide that they were going to flip the colors? Because most people don't even notice these things. I notice things like this because I'm an artist and I've gained this awareness of like subtle changes in things. So we have 2 parties and the colors changed and flipped. Now what we have is this, where they're now washed in all the colors of what the United States used to be. So you have the Democrats and the Republicans. Democrat and Republican Party are the biggest in America, but they differ significantly in their ideas and philosophies. The Democrats supposedly believe that the government should have a more active role in society, which means it wants to rule over the people with an iron fist, because this will help society grow, achieve its goals, and lead equality to a higher quality of life. Lies is what this is. It allows too much power to be assumed over time. The Republicans support the idea that the government should be small. It should employ a small number of people, and it shouldn't play such a big role in society. Exactly what we should be aware of, because if we let it get out of hand, it goes too far, as it always does. Now today's symbol is this, and it used to be See, this is another just a representation of the Republican Party elephant blue wind-up alarm clock. It used to be blue. Yeah, so the elephant used to be blue and now it's red, and then the donkey is now blue when it used to be red. So that got me questioning years ago why they flipped them, but now they're washing them out. They're doing this for a reason, guys. They're all of this, nothing is done by chance. They're telling you something through these symbols. Always look at why things change. You must know this, that it is very important. They are changing the symbols because things are shifting and moving. Now, what's interesting to note about this political party thing, and I know that I've segued away from that the bull thing for a moment, but we have to go in and find out what's happening in our world and compare it to this bull information. This political landscape in the United States is dominated by two major parties, Democrats and Republicans. Though there are some differences between Democrats and Republicans, it's next to impossible to classify everyone based on political issue. Yeah, we already know that, but we need to know where this whole idea of this divided party started. And guess what? It started in the 1800s, along with everything else that we know of, where they're saying, oh, this building was built in the 1800s. It was built in the 1800s. And then, have all these architects supposedly just coming up with all this architecture. This is when they started erasing the history that we should have known about, the free energy, the free everything. And so they came into this country and they divided it basically and created these two parties. The two bulls came in. So don't even think that this nation was created by his story, their lies basically, of the Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West is a made up lie, and that there was a beautiful world that was here, and it was the foundation of everything. And the Greco-Roman architecture is absolutely everywhere. And if you go watch Tartaria information and just watch it for days, you're going to see a lot of stuff that's going to blow your mind. But they blew up the United States of America. It wasn't called that back then. That they did all this stuff, and then they started erasing everything. So then they established these two parties so that it would create division eventually, which was their goal, and they've done it. And let me show you what else happens, because now look, they're representing it by this, which means that it's two wings of the same bird, basically, that they're telling you that they were always on board, but they have achieved their goals. That's why they flip-flopped and why they change the colors and they do all this stuff. They're telling us in symbols, but we do not know how to read these signs. We think that it means nothing. Like they just feel like, changing it for the culture. Oh, let's just change it because it's trendy. No, that is never the reason. So this is why I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to bring it up because of this. You guys have been seeing this symbol, right? Everywhere. This has a lot of meaning, and it's telling you right to your face. But unless you know how to read the symbols, you don't know what's happening. Look, this is on Walmart, and Walmart's an abomination. I can't stand setting foot in Walmart for any reason. And I try my best to never go there. But every now and then I'm faced with having to go in there for something. Anyway, they call it what it is, the subdued reverse American USA flag, black, white, military, tactical guard and yard flag. A black and white flag means that it is death. It is dead. It no longer holds value. And it's not just because it's in this direction. It is now being put on military uniforms. This black flag right here means that the country is dead. The reversed is not because it's blowing in the wind and now they're putting it on, the right or left side and it's going backwards. That is a lie. It has never and never was that way. It was never a backwards flag, and now it's backwards, which means it's done, it's over. But people need to try to recognize this symbolism. See, why do they reverse American flags on military uniforms? Their excuses are the made-up lies that they've contrived. This reversed flag is an abomination, and this one has the gold fringe around it, which means it's part of the corporation, and this the corporation that they are now collapsing by design. They intended to build up this nation and then collapse it. It's all a construct, but it's also a construct for us to comprehend and learn from. You see, your soul is the most important aspect of you. And when you grasp the concept and notion that you're just a soul, a divine spirit having an experience, you can then see that all the rest of the world is nothing in comparison, and that you comprehend that everything marches by design throughout the great year for you to learn from. But when you can learn to grab your consciousness and say, you know what, I've learned enough from this 3D construct. I'm ready to go inwards, to seek the true divinity inwards, to find out what it really means to be a spirit. That is the moment where you begin your shift out of the reincarnation cycle, because once you gain control and utmost awareness of your consciousness in all factions of your form, that means being able to not have thoughts at any given moment, that you call upon no thoughts, gaining control of your conscious awareness, not having the mind chatter that's constantly talking within your skull, that is when you can actually say, I am gaining control of this ride, and I am going to choose whether I wish to be here or not. And believe me, this is what the entire world is about. It's just a swimming soup that continues until people decide not to return. You are a divine spirit, and you experience spiritual matters on the other side. You do not have a name. You do not have a body. You are a being of light. So if you are tired of this world, as I am, you begin to go inwards and you try to figure out what it means to be a soul and a spirit rather than a 3D material form. All these people who are reaching for material things in the world are focused on the material because that's their purpose. That's what they're interested in as a soul. But as a spirit having a physical experience and then waking up to the construct and being just totally exhausted from it, it's time to go inwards and to discover what it means to traverse the realm of souls or spirits, or what you would know as dreams or the Sandman. You have to gain control of your consciousness, though, because as you grow one tiny thought, you can then manifest that instantly. But it's not tangible, it's not tactile for you. You have to learn how to grow that tangible, tactile ability of spirits who can actually move physical objects in a room. Yes, they are spirits, they move things, but they have to do it throughout their will. It's the will of the spirit that learns how to do these things. That's why the will is the most important thing in existence while you are, in a physical form or a disembodied form. This backward flag, you will find meaning of it everywhere. And it says, oh, it's just so that, it depicts the wind blowing the flag if it's on the right or the left. And so it has to face that direction now. No, it never was, and it never will be. They are telling you that this country is done. Any of the black flags, any of them, are going to be the final straw. It's over. It's done. No more United States of America. No more United States. It is now going to shift and change into something else. And you'll see that in the near future. Based on this division, the two bulls that came in and divided the country and divided the world. But they have to be brought back around to their, unity. Unity is what we're actually headed for. But we have to cycle around the this whole construct of 26,000 years before we unify again completely as an entire species. So I was looking up some things about the difference between donkey versus bull because I wanted to know why they used a donkey. So here's the history of the Democratic Party and how it came about. The Republicans was the foundation of the United States of America. As we know, it was built upon a republic, the republic for which it stands, which was a republic based on the ideas of the people. But then came the Democratic Party, and this party can be traced back to Thomas Jefferson when they were known as Jefferson's Republicans, and they strongly opposed the Federalist Party and their nationalist views. The Democrats adopted the donkey as their symbol due to Andrew Jackson, get this, who was publicly nicknamed Jackass because of his popular position of let the people rule. The Democratic National Committee was officially created in 1848. During the Civil War, a rift grew within the party between those who supported slavery and those who opposed it. The deep division led to the creation of a new Democratic Party, the one we know of today. So the Republicans were against this Federalist idea and the national views. And it was originally Democratic was supposed to be based on the foundations of the people. They have been confuddling the history and timelines because as we know over here, look at this. This is what they say. Democrats believe the government should have more active role in society. That's not what it says over here. The foundations are. The foundations are Jefferson's Republic. They were opposed to Federalist Party and the nationalist views. They didn't want federal government. And the Democrats who wanted the people to rule. So that's originally what Democrat meant, but then it became quite the opposite. Then the Democrats came about and took on the role that they wanted more government. See how they flipped everything? They have been flip-flopping everything in existence. This is the actual foundations. Republicans, they opposed Federalist Party. And then these people wanted the people to rule. But then this is what it says today. And notice how the Democrats are no longer red and the Republicans are no longer blue. They were originally blue and the Democrats were red. And now the Democrats believe the government should have a more active role in society, and the Republicans support the idea that the government should be small. Isn't that interesting? Flip-flopped all of the knowledge, all of the history. They constantly wipe it out. So you have to keep up as a soul. You have to keep up and discern the truth. This is why it's important to go into your heart. Now they've divided the entire nation. They've leveled the field. The right and left wings of the bird are now equal, and they have achieved their dominion through the dominion machine. They've achieved this and divided it and collapsed it, and it's about to collapse. And now it is going to be this. The final straw is this nation is done. It's over with. No longer will it rule, and no longer will its reign be important. It is going to become something else. Okay, now we get back. Sorry, guys. I know that it's been a while. I'm just going to go ahead and close some of these. This was the history of the Crips and Bloods. And it basically says that it was created in the 50s. And I believe that, again, this was just more division to start dividing and conquering, especially the ones who are of African descent. I don't believe that they're just descendants of Africa. I believe that they were the indigenous cultures of America, because we're starting to see that some of the Native Americans were actually what we would consider brown people, deep brown people. I'm not going to call them black because black means death. That means they're dead. Do not call them black anymore, is what I say, because it's black means death. We can't call them that. They're not dead. They are alive and well, just like we are. And we are all part of this construct, and we have to help each other out of this mess. Okay, that's the history of the Crips and Bloods. Okay, so a little more about the donkey and the bull. Symbolism, Republican, Democrat, and all this stuff, it gets tied into the finance of a market in which prices are rising. That's where they use a bull, and it's also tied to Taurus. It's also the bullseye. It's also a proclamation issued by the Pope, written in antiquated characters and sealed with a leaden bulla. A bull is also a man. The bull is also a person who buys shares hoping to sell them at a higher price. See there? They're putting it in finance, tied to the Moni or Mooney, the zodiacal sign of or constellation Taurus. Bull is also to push or force. Donkey is a stubborn person, a fool. It's also a small auxiliary engine used in nautical purposes called a donkey engine. The donkey is the symbol of the Democratic Party. introduced in cartoons by Thomas Nast in 1874. Okay, I'm sorry that was a long-winded excerpt on pulling some other things into this topic, but it just keeps going. Speaking of the pair of ox, the word oxygen comes from this code. Is it a coincidence that oxygen we breathe is O2, OO, oxygen, or bull? Again, the bulls come in pairs. When you look at the first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet, you get Aleph, which is shaped like an ox head, and Bet, the second letter, shaped like a tent or abode, a home. Aleph and then Bet. Remember, Hebrew's read backwards. Ours is actually read backwards. We are reading backwards compared to what we should have been. It should have been this, right to left instead of left to right. Left hemisphere controls analytical side of the brain. The right side of the brain is the creative aspect, the imagination, the curiousness, curious mind. Ox represents strength. That's the strength of the house, of the tent poles that hold up the tent female family. So the tent pole or temple is the Aleph Bet, the masculine and feminine principles, and where the word for father, Abba, in Hebrew comes from, spelled Aleph Bet Aleph. That's why you hear God the Father, but it's not supposed to imply just the masculine. That word encompasses both, it's symbolic of the sexual union. It's feminine and masculine. And I always wondered, why the papacy or the Pope and the Vatican and Catholicism, they always said the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Where was the female in that? I always questioned that because I'm like, you have to have a male and feminine form in order to have a son or a daughter. You have to have male and female in order to have the spirit or divine essence. But they made it the Father and the Son, which implied that it was pedophilia. So again, the bull or ox, Aleph, a letter A, is the tent pole, which is why the bulls are pillars around the sun, the 101 of the Red Bull logo. And now we can understand the sex magic around the New Year's dropping of the ball or bull, Taurus, field. And this building in Canada, or Canaan, in Ontario, the city of Toronto, right here. See how all of this stuff ties into our world? We need to know the foundations and why they put so much emphasis on bull symbolism. It's not just all of this, it encompasses so much more. And I believe it's all tied to the age of Taurus. And this is where they enacted their foundations of the construct of controlling the rest of the world. This was when their divine idea and concept of ruling over the rest of society came into power and came into play right here. I know this has been a lot of information, but we have to start somewhere comprehending everything. Everything in our existence is tied to this model right here. And this is Plato. And I do encourage everyone to go and research Plato and find out what Plato has to say about the construct of our world and how it's all tied to the stars. And once we grasp this knowledge, we can then gain the reins of power back and to start controlling and dominating our world again as it should have been. It should be the good, truly, pulling the foundations of the world in alignment and in a direction of positivity. But again, it is a construct for our soul to play. And it is a divine comedy, as Dante says. And we will gain this knowledge and walk hand in hand into the future, teaching others all of these things. That's why everything's coming back now. The foundations of knowledge are coming back to the world. And we will know who we truly are and what our true purpose is once we establish this again. So I hope you enjoy this video. I know it was a little bit, taking a little segue here and there, but I wanted to pull all of this symbolism in and to help guide your mind into the world of symbolism and how important it is to recognize that these changes are not by chance. When you see signs of flags and symbols and things that are changing all around you. What does it truly mean? They're telling you something without physically telling you. They're going to tell you some misinformation, but you have to be guided by your inner truth and your inner wisdom. From knowing these things, from exploring the world all around you in the world of symbolism, you will gain eyes to see so much more, to see further than you ever thought you could, and to be able to know what might be coming down the pipe. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you on the next one.